The clock is ticking on the current landfill in Gering's life capacity, and city officials in both Gering and Scottsbluff are parting ways on a mutual resolution. KNEB.TV News starts right now.
From your trusted source for news in western Nebraska and eastern Wyoming, this is KNEB.TV News. Presented by Platte Valley Companies, premier provider of financial services.
Hello, I'm Ryan Murphy. This is KNEB.TV News, powered by Platte Valley Companies. Thanks for joining me. And our top story, work on a regional landfill by Gering and Scottsbluff will soon be coming to an end, as the Gering City Council has approved terminating the agreement. While the project had made it as far as selecting a site in Sioux County that exceeded minimum review requirements, a moratorium placed by Sioux County commissioners kept the two cities from exercising an option to purchase the land. During Monday's council meeting, Gering City Administrator Pat Heath said, with the current landfill nearing capacity and no other site able to be quickly identified, staff from both communities favor terminating the agreement for the joint project.
The proposed termination agreement will allow both communities to move forward with planning and agreements with other entities for waste disposal without being in breach of the original contract. It provides a date of September 30th, 2026 as the effective end date of the original agreement. This aligns with the new budget year, allowing predictability for budgeting as well. While Scottsbluff will cease disposing of their waste in Gering's landfill as of the end of the agreement, Gering may choose or continue to utilize the landfill until it reaches its full capacity.
A joint fund that would have paid for the start of a new facility has a little more than $3 million, and after payment of final consultant fees and valuation of two pieces of equipment purchased through the fund, will be split between the two communities. Heath says a Greensfield report being completed by a consultant will end up having value for either city if and when they decide to pursue a new landfill, whether a joint venture or as a solo project. Well, no trial this week for a Scottsbluff man who was facing a trio of felony drug charges stemming from his November arrest in Gering. Michael Rivera was pulled over after failing to come to a complete stop and crossing the fog line, and during the encounter, officers asked the 71-year-old driver for permission to search the vehicle. He agreed, and the search uncovered 2 pounds of a substance testing presumptive positive for meth in a cubby in the back seat floorboard and more than $500 cash. Earlier this month, he pled no contest to amended charge of possession of meth with intent to distribute, a Class 1D felony. The state will recommend a prison sentence of 3 to 8 years at a September 11th sentencing. And what could have been a felony road rage conviction turned out to only be a misdemeanor conviction for a Terrytown woman. In December, 28-year-old Kanku Wambly Oye was arrested after a deputy saw her trying to run over a man with her vehicle that she was driving. She had been charged with attempted first-degree assault and use of a deadly weapon to commit a felony, but earlier this year in district court, a plea deal knocked down the charge to a single count of third-degree assault. On Friday, Judge Leo Dobrovony sentenced her to 30 days in jail with 45 days credit for time already served. We'll have more news right after this.
Looking for free instead of fees? Platte Valley Bank can help you keep your finances moving forward with no ATM fees. Whether you're headed to the lake, the mountains, or just to the grocery store, you can enjoy the freedom of free ATM access anywhere, anytime. Platte Valley Bank. You belong here.
In a world where retirement meant slowing down, these residents had other plans. The competition has never been more fierce. Okay, maybe not fierce, but definitely fun. There's one community that refuses to slow down. The Residency, where the trophies are big and the personalities even bigger.
Welcome back. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Lynn Walls has announced her choice for lieutenant governor. Walls introduced Humboldt farmer and agricultural leader Ben Steffen as her running mate during a news conference yesterday near Elkhorn.
I wanted to make sure that the person in this position was the absolute best person and who would always put Nebraskans first, and I know that's been.
Stefan is president of Stefan Ag Inc. and has held leadership positions with the Richardson County Farm Bureau, Ag Builders of America, and the Nebraska Association of County Extension Boards. Stefan also serves as the chairman of the Nebraska Rural Radio Association Board of Directors. Well, Japan's effort to lower the country's carbon footprint could create opportunities for Nebraska, where the country is phasing in higher ethanol blends, moving towards E20. Governor Jim Pillen is leading a trade mission to Japan this week, and during a conference call with reporters yesterday, said the recently completed Tall Grass Trailblazer pipeline gives Nebraska a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I would say that the carbon capture obviously is gigantic for Japan. I've said every time that I meet the ambassador, his question is, how soon will you be making aviation fuel? So clean energy is a very, very high priority for the Japanese market.
The delegation is also visiting the Philippines, where trade mission members say there's a different view on ethanol, but one that could also pay off in the future. Today's closing numbers on KNEB.TV News brought to you by Chad Hobbs, your Edward Jones financial advisor in Scottsbluff.
On the Rural Radio Network, I'm Alex Makovica. Today we're joined by John Hinners. He's Senior Vice President of Industry Relations with the U.S. Meat Export Federation. You are here at the Nebraska Soybean Board office. Talk about the relationship you have here with Nebraska soybeans and just the soybean industry in general.
Well, with the U.S. Meat Export Federation, we've been working with the Nebraska Soybean Board for many, many years. It's been a solid partnership, and what we've been able to do as an organization is leverage those soybean checkoff dollars with other fundings with U.S. government, pork, corn, and so forth, and really go out with an aggressive marketing campaign for U.S. red meats, beef, pork, and lamb.
For soybeans, you've got this rapid crush capacity coming online. Important to find uses for these. Talk about that full circle moment then.
Yeah, it's a sustainable full circle, with that additional soybean meal coming online. Ultimately we can ship it out in the form of raw material, or we can put it in a value-added hog and ship it through hams and pork shoulders and Boston butts and so forth like that. And, you think about it, Mexico's a tremendous market for the U.S. pork industry. And it's also a tremendous market for value-added soybeans. Every time you send a ham outside the United States, and if it crosses into Mexico, that's 18 pounds of soybean meal and an additional 1.5 bushels of corn that are just utilized in producing that ham. So Mexico's the #1 market for hams out of the United States, and we export roughly half of our hams, and Mexico continues to buy them. So it's a very important market for U.S. soybean industry, and more importantly, just the U.S. pork industry.
Yeah, Mexico, obviously our neighbor, but what are some other outlets, other markets that are important to the U.S., maybe growing ones?
Yeah, I always, I can't mention pork and soybeans without mentioning Japan. Japan's a huge market for U.S. loins, U.S. pork loins. It's been a little tough on our domestic market pork loins. They're a great value. At one time, I think in 2019, we were exporting about 10% of our pork loins, and we've been an aggressive approach in working with our teams around the world, saying, hey, this is a really good value. Can we incorporate more pork loins into the mixture And what we've been able to do is successfully move from about 10% pork loins being exported to about 20%. So we've found new homes, and Japan's a huge loin market, but ultimately Korea, and you go into many of these different markets. Colombia, this is a market that has been relatively amenable to taking pork loins from the United States. So it's a great avenue just to look at the international market and say, hey, where can we take and fit some of these different muscle cuts and drive some additional value to keep everybody profitable in this industry, whether you're a pork producer, a beef producer, corn or soybean producer, lamb industry. We always got to look at avenues to offer profit opportunities. And I think that's where this export business has been successful. And with our organization being 50 years old this year, we've got a lot of history with many of these markets.
You said two things that made me think of the work that you guys do, which is one, finding those cuts that maybe the U.S. might not consume as much and find other places, but also understanding consumers in different parts of the world and their food culture. Talk about the importance of that aspect in bringing this all home.
Well, I think one thing's, as I stand here in Lincoln, Nebraska, we as an organization had a global symposium on processed meats right here at the university. And one of the things that we developed, we had a staff that wanted to look at beef liver and how they can maybe add some different proteins to that product. And we created a product called Nutra Liver. Nutra Liver is a protein that's very affordable, but yet it's very desirable in markets like Peru and markets like Colombia, where liver consumption is much higher than it is here in the United States. So there is a product that we helped develop with the meat scientists right here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we're able to help with the nutrition aspect in young children and help fight some of the anemia in many of these countries like Peru and Colombia and some of these other South America countries. So it was a win-win. We found market for our liver, and yet consumers were able to buy into a protein that they enjoy and cherish.
Yeah, absolutely. We're sitting here at the Nebraska Soybean Board office. You guys obviously work with corn as well and all the red meats, as you mentioned. But what's the future of Nebraska soybeans when it comes to the U.S. Meat Export Federation?
I think the future is just continuing to have a dialogue on a strong partnership. And, I think that sustainability message is a feather in our cap compared to some of the other countries.
Yeah. John Hinters joins us again, Senior Vice President of Industry Relations with the U.S. Meat Export Federation.
Welcome to Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. Whether you're a wine enthusiast, a whiskey sommelier, a tequila connoisseur, or you just love your beer, Kelly's has the best selection of what you're looking for. Family owned and operated since 1946 and right on 27th Street in Scottsbluff. Come see us today at Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. And remember to be a good neighbor. Don't drink and drive. Kelly's Liquor, West 27th Street in Scottsbluff.
Let's take a look at your community calendar, brought to you by Riverstone Bank. The community calendar is brought to you by Riverstone Bank. We're local and we love our community.
Your first home. It's more than walls and a roof. It's where life begins, where laughter fills the rooms and dreams start to take shape. At Platte Valley Bank, we're here to make the first step easier with free consultations and pre-qualification so you can move forward with confidence. From your first mortgage to your forever home, Platte Valley Bank is here for you every step of the way. You belong here.
And finally tonight, the 2026 Old West Balloon Fest is just weeks away, and organizers say your help is needed to put on the best show possible. The action gets underway the evening of August 9th with a welcome party and barbecue for the U.S. National Hot Air Balloon Championship pilots, with the competition starting the following morning. Old West Balloon Fest Director Colleen Johnson says volunteers are the backbone of the event.
A lot of people don't realize that in order to put on an event like this, we need probably 100 to 150 volunteers. They can help a pilot crew, which means you help them set it up and take it down. You chase them in the chase truck and you get very close with your pilot because you're with them all week. The other thing we need is scorers, which is probably my most favorite volunteer position, because you actually get to go to a target and you get to watch the balloons come in and throw a baggie on an X, and you help measure, and it is a lot of fun to watch the level of competition for that. And then of course we also need parking people and things like that too. So
the first 3 days of competition include both morning and evening flights, with morning only flights when the Balloon Fest gets underway August 13th with a night glow kickoff celebration at the WNCC Scottsbluff campus. If you can help out, you're encouraged to sign up by clicking Volunteers under the Support tab online at theoldwestballoonfest.com. Well, that does it for us this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you here next time.